Wired access.
We'll do it live.
Wired access.
Do it live.
Wired access.
We'll do it live.
Wired access.
Welcome to Wired Access Podcast, where I'm your host, DJ K-Dub Omaha. We're a part of the Hurrdat Sports production. Remember, it is Pro Time Nebraska. What does that mean for you? Omaha Supernovas is our local major league pro volleyball, and they are on a hot streak. They are just making the crowd go wild as we load up at the CHI Center. Remember, the next game is actually tomorrow night, Thursday, March 28th. Make sure to check it out against the Grand Rapid Rise as we come back home finally to the CHI Center. Come fill it out. Get those tickets at supernovas.com. Once again, Omaha Supernovas, it's pro time, baby. We have today one of the top prospects in Nebraska, Norris Titans, Kale Fountain. Kale, welcome to the show. For some, they think this is your first, but for me and you, this is number two because you were a part of the first year where it was all audio. You brought the family down, your dad, your brother, and you came to Brian's facility. What do you like of the new setup? And welcome to the show.
Well, it looks good, so I appreciate you guys having me. I wish I could come down, but I got some stuff I got to do with the high school later on today, so going to knock that down. But it's the busiest time of the year, so I'm glad we could find some time to hop on. So,
well, for me, most people go, okay, well, let's go talk about way back when. We've already done that. We've talked from your 8th grade to 10th grade. You had 2 strong seasons, and so much has grown and changed for you. Starting with, let's just start back 10th grade, man. You're committed to Florida State. You're going through your 10th grade year. What do you remember about that year and that summer for baseball?
Yeah, that was kind of that whirlwind year where kind of things got flipped upside down in a sense. You mentioned the Florida State commitment. Went through sophomore year and had a really strong campaign that year. Made the state. Ran into some unfortunate luck in the finals, and we were 2-out, which obviously is something that Norris usually doesn't do. But going through that was tough, and my teammates and watching some of the seniors I was close with leave. But then going through the summer, I played a little bit on the summer circuit, but I had originally planned to just kind of stay home and train. And then the whole firing at Florida State happened. Those coaches got fired out of there, so I kind of had to reevaluate my situation, ended up decommitting from there. And then, like you said, it kind of just went through like that, the change. So it was just kind of a whole different thing, and it kind of led us to this point. So,
well, speaking of that, you hear of the firing. Was your first word social media, or did someone from Florida State reach out to you?
So we were actually on a plane heading to Georgia. And we had just landed, and I remember my dad looking down at the phone. He's got all these text messages from different people. A lot of them wondering if we would be willing to hop on a call because they figured that since FSU, the firing had happened, that I'd be reopening my recruitment. So it was kind of a crazy thing. We didn't even know what was going on because we were up in the air, obviously. So I think social media and just the text messages was the first message we got, and then we just kind of saw it through Twitter and the various sources. So
now the thing at Florida State that some don't understand, so the head coach, he retires and passes down to his son. His son was a part of your commitment reason, right? He was a key cog to that. What was that like, just being able to transfer from father to son and know that, okay, right at the moment I'm good? And you have the comfort level.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for us, is that relationship thing. I'd say a whole part of the reason why we committed so young, obviously because we thought I was ready, but also because we thought there was no way that they were going to fire the son, after Mike Martin had been there that long. So, like you said, that comfort factor was definitely there because we thought that legacy was going to stay there for a while. We could trust that they would be there in 4 years when I got there. So it was kind of just flipped upside down. And then once I found out they weren't retaining the other coaching staff, of course, Link Jarrett from Notre Dame brings over his entire staff because that's usually how it goes. That's when I had to step back and just kind of make that decision to reevaluate.
First contact from Florida State, who is it, and what is that conversation like for you?
It was Link Jared. I talked to him on the phone, and it was he had like all that stuff going on at Florida State, all the media, getting down there and all that. So it was kind of a little bit after when he was hired, which I understand. But I think we had kind of already made our mind up, especially when we found out that obviously the other coaching staff, the assistants, weren't going to be retained. So we just kind of had a conversation with him about what was going on, what we were feeling, told him that we were going to reevaluate, and then it just kind of led to where it's at now. So,
Coach Martin, what was the last thing that you remember talking to him about, and how was that impactful for you?
I would say the last conversation we had was just impactful and just reminded me of why I was committed to where I was committed and why they had belief in me. It was before that sophomore year. It was just kind of like that phone call before they started playing and I started playing. Just reminded me to have confidence and just go out and be myself. So I'd say that was the most impactful because that was the kind of person he was, and the kind of coaching staff they had, which is why I was so comfortable talking to him all the time. They just wanted me to be me, so that was really cool.
So, of course, you've went through this process since the 8th grade, as many know. Is there anything as far as workouts, as far as eating regimen, as far as any of that colleges try to help you out with at that young of age? Because I know obviously now no one can do it before junior year, as far as a full commitment. What is there any process of that maybe some of these kids should understand what their expectations should be with that?
I don't think they can help you in any way. At least I haven't got any help from my college coaches. It's just kind of been, like I talked about, more of like the mental side of things, like how are things going, kind of just those checkups. What have you been up to? What have you been working on? They want you to find success, and they can only help you so much with all the stuff they have going on. I'm not too familiar with the rules and all that. But I would say, like, going through that process and you're talking to all these coaches, like, you want to have those coaches that check up on you that don't change from when they were recruiting you to now. Like they're the same person to when they have you committed, to when they were talking to you before. So that's kind of what I saw in FSU and LSU now, obviously. I have conversations with my coaches a lot. And just having those conversations is just really important for my confidence too, because they just, remind me of why I'm going there and how I should represent them and different aspects of that. So it's been really cool.
So you brought up, you guys get off the plane. What's your first thought with your dad that you're just like, all right, change is okay. It's not over. It's only beginning.
Yeah. Well, the first thing was actually I got to go perform well at this tournament I'm at. So that was the biggest thing we were worried about, was getting to the field for that first game. But I think my dad was pretty good with helping me calm down in that moment. He was just kind of like, you just kind of got to look at it how it is. You just kind of got to let it play out. That's what he told me. Just let it play out. Don't think about it. Obviously, the cards are going to fall into place. You're going to know what your decision is going to be, what's going to go on based on the information that comes out in the next couple of weeks. It was so early on that we just didn't want to jump the gun on anything. There was still like a slight chance that some of the coaching staff there was going to be retained, because it wasn't going to be a shock if the assistant at Notre Dame would have stepped up at head coach there. So then that meant he would have to kept the guys at Florida State. So there was just a lot of question marks, and we just didn't want to jump the gun.
Now, when you go to these national games that you're going to and people are looking and there's news reporters everywhere, what was the first time you remember getting questioned about it after the decision was made?
I don't think I ever was. I think it was just kind of like small talk with maybe some other coaches and stuff at that time, because I was able to communicate freely. But I think I kind of put out that I was decommitting a month later in July, and it happened in June. So I think that kind of settled it. And then, obviously the recruiting process kind of picked up, and some other people reached out to see what was going on, who I was talking to and whatnot. So
your recruiting process finally comes true, right? You finally get a different look. You have to go different avenues. What's that first like when you start putting your name back out there? Of course, your DMs are filled up, your dad's phone's blowing up. It's got to be kind of like a double-edged sword, right? You're like, sweet, I'm getting recognized. I know that I'm the talent that I am, but it also could be overwhelming. What was that like?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got all that stuff coming in, and I think the biggest thing for me and my family, what we talked about was kind of just trying to narrow it down early, but also not shutting out people in a sense, like having those conversations and taking the time to obviously have those conversations with every coach that was interested, because you truly never know. And for me, I never really wanted to burn bridges, because there's still a possibility at some point down the road I might need one of those coaches for down the road to talk to and have a spot or whatnot. So we didn't want to burn any bridges, but as the process does go on, you kind of want to narrow it down so that you're not so overwhelmed. I can still focus on getting ready for junior year and playing well that summer, of course. And then once I got it narrowed down to 4 or 5, I was lucky enough to be around the time to be able to take those visits, have those conversations in person, and get down to those campuses. And it was a good process. So.
How many campuses did you visit in that time?
I went to 5. So I went to Nebraska, LSU, Mississippi State, Texas, and Arkansas.
So that goes out there for anybody that says Nebraska didn't have a shot. Everybody had a shot.
For sure. Yeah.
You go to those 5, you obviously end up picking LSU. LSU wins the national championship this last year. Of course, you were probably in-house seeing it all happen. Behind the scenes, what is it that LSU has besides the name, besides the history? What was it that was your number one pull?
Culture, just being around those people and seeing the way that the players talk about the program and the coaches. Having the player host is such a good thing on those visits, because you can kind of ask them those hard questions like what's really going on here, how's the development, and all these different factors. And I think having those conversations, they were the most pure and honest people with me throughout the entire process. I was actually fortunate enough to know Paul Skeens. He played with Zach Argo at Norris at Air Force, so I kind of had that initial connection. Talked to him about it. He was talking to me through DMs and whatever. Let me know if I need anything. I can reach out to him. Dylan Cruz and Tommy White. Obviously, I was in the football baseball student section at the football games next to them, so I could have conversations with them. So it was just kind of like that cool experience. And then once you just get around like all the surrounding people, obviously the head coach, Coach Jay Johnson, and Coach Josh Jordan, like they were great throughout the process. And then when I got on person, it just kind of solidified the whole thing. So
you get to a football game at LSU. You've been to a Husker game. What's that atmosphere like in the SEC LSU game?
Well, I'd say the biggest difference is just the weather. When you get to I went to the Nebraska-Iowa game this past year, and obviously that was pretty electric. I think it was early in the morning, but still bringing the energy at like 11. So that was pretty cool to see. But I mean, you're in Louisiana, and it's hot. It's nighttime. Everyone's kind of, I'm sure you understand how the SEC fans get. So they're playing Alabama. They don't like Alabama and Louisiana, so it was kind of a different thing. So it was really cool. And then I got to rush the field when they beat them 2 years ago. So it was cool.
So when you look at LSU, I always tell people, like, when I think of College World Series, LSU fans comes to mind. I used to live in South O. I'm a South O kid. So Rosenblatt meant something to us. The pregame meant something to us, the postgame, because if you're walking the neighborhood of South Omaha right there by Rosenblatt, there's LSU fans in everybody's yards. And when they are, they go, come on over. Come get a bowl of this, right? That's where I learned to honestly make real jambalaya is from the fans, because not only did they invite you, didn't even need to know your name, because come on over here, boy.
Yeah.
Your boy. You don't need a name. Your boy. Hey, I'll be your boy. Let's get some. What is that atmosphere like for you? Because for me, when I think of college baseball and I think of College World Series, it wraps around LSU fans. I feel the environment is better with them, and you can feel it when they're not there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the things I noticed too when I was on campus, or even like traveling in the airport. I remember wearing an LSU shirt on the way home and seeing fans in the airport and just them coming up to me, like just saying hi or whatnot, not even knowing who I was or what my name was. Obviously, I didn't know them. And they're just kind of asking like why I was at LSU or what I was doing there. So it's just kind of cool because it's such a welcoming community too. So you're playing for fans like that, and you're playing for people who love the university like you do. You kind of find like you're in similar spots, and it's kind of cool to have that shared experiences. So I don't know, it's just really cool, and having people like that around just kind of makes it more comfortable going down there. So.
Now, as far as LSU, what was the number one thing that took you there?
I got to keep with the theme of just the people. I've talked about it a lot, but for me, just going through the recruitment process from Florida State to LSU, like it was just that relationship building aspect of things. And LSU just, felt more like home, felt more like the people I wanted to be around.
Was it a certain position coach or head coach, assistant coach that was your main pool when you look at the coaching staff?
Yeah, I would say head coach, Coach Jay Johnson, was the most involved head coach in the whole process than any other school. And that was just really attractive to me because, obviously being able to talk with the head coach at LSU for that time, being recruited by him mainly was really cool. And Coach Josh Jordan, the assistant, called me a lot too, which was just as cool, obviously. But once you get down there and you see how involved those two are in the process of everything and how they're on the field with those guys every day, they don't just kind of they don't manage that team. Like they're actually out there coaching that in every single little aspect. So it's just kind of cool to be around that and see how much pride they take in that program and development and winning. So
when you're a player that has the potential as yourself, that's always highly regarded, and you're amongst a team like that, what has been your surreal moment in the past 2 years? Have you had one where you really looked at not only where you're at, but some of the real players that are next to you or could be next to you here coming up?
I would say just as the recruiting process has gone on and LSU has built such a powerhouse recruiting class in the 24 class, I got to play alongside those guys this summer. And just my moment was just kind of being with them and seeing how good they are at baseball too. Kind of just reminds me of how special this moment is to be a part of something like this. And when we get on campus, it's just going to be such a special time in my life, being able to develop with those guys and win all those games. And especially the friendship aspect of stuff. Like, you be around those guys, you're already trying to plot who your roommates are going to be. You talk to them and you have these fun conversations about where they're from. Like I got a buddy from Texas that I'm really, really close with, seeing how he lives his life, meeting his parents. I think just for me, just being outgoing and meeting all those people, and then we're all going to one spot in a year is really cool. So
when you talk about all these experiences over the summer, you've had the 60, you've had so many opportunities. What's been your favorite one of them all so far?
I would say playing in just the summer ball tournaments with my summer team this past year, especially in Georgia, the WWBAs for Perfect Game.
And what team was that you played this last year?
USA Prime, or the Detroit Tigers scout team. Those guys that I met on that team was just, the best group I could have asked for to play with this summer. We all grew so close to each other. Obviously we got guys from all over the country, but I got really close with a kid from Georgia who I still talk to. I actually went down and saw him a couple of weeks ago. A kid from Nevada I'm really close with. So just kind of meeting those people, having those memories and those contacts that I'll never forget, and I'm sure I'll always be in contact with them, is really special to me.
So, of course, you're seeing other local athletes head off to the SEC, have some good times. You got Cam Kozel for Vanderbilt, and you got Eli Small for Kentucky. You're seeing them hitting bombs as freshmen and doing work that's coming from Nebraska. How does that help the culture of baseball in Nebraska, and you're able to add to that?
Yeah, no, it helps a lot. Seeing those guys have success because, obviously that's our goals. That's what we want to do, is go into any program and have success for them freshman year, and help out early. And seeing those guys do that is really cool. It kind of lays the foundation for me and guys like Tyson and Mike Valdivia and AJ Vasco, people in the 24 class right now. It kind of just gives us our goal Obviously, we want to focus on the now and having a great spring season, but then also we have that overarching theme of wanting to get to college and have success when we get there. So it's just really cool to see that. And then we can do the same for guys who are coming up, like Danny Wallace and Jay Siola stick out to me, and this people in those 25 class, and even my brother and those guys in the 26 class. So it just kind of it's cool for the brand of baseball in Nebraska. Reminds us that we have a really good state with a lot of talent, and people should take notice of that.
So, of course, playing outside of the state has been one of the biggest things to add to your guys' adventure. And the growth of it has just continued to grow. If I'm a young prospect looking to go, do you feel like the out of state helps you more than it could ever in state?
I would say yes and no. There's various tournaments that hold a lot of weight out of state that if you're good enough to go and you have the talent, like obviously you should attend and get that exposure. But I'm just a big believer that if you have talent, they're going to find you. They're going to come watch you play. They're going to recruit you, or whoever it may be is going to come watch you. So if you have talent, like it doesn't matter going out of state or staying in state. If you just go out and perform and be you with that talent, then you're going to get noticed for sure. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in and miss a lot of points with is like if you look at what I've done or Tyson Lewis has done, like we didn't go out and we didn't go to every single showcase from freshman year to now. Like we were pretty selective with what we did with area code games and Super 60. I may have done a little bit more tournaments than Tyson. But we were very selective with what we did because we know that we don't need to go out and travel to get all this exposure, but you also have to prioritize your training in the meantime because that's also really important. So if you have talent, they'll find you for sure.
Speaking on prioritizing your workouts, what is it that like in the eyes and the backside of Kale Fountain that people just don't get to see, they don't get to hear because you're doing it for you. And the whole point of it is be heard, not seen.
Yeah. I would say like my training is just I took a whole entire summer off my sophomore year. Really just prioritize getting stronger and different aspects that I feel I needed to get better at. I would say like for me, the biggest thing I did was identify like 3 or 4 different things that I needed to get better at. And like the first one was like strength. Freshman year, I was still 185 pounds, but I had so much to put on, So I identified like strength. And then by sophomore, junior year, I was in that 215, 220 range, and I'm in pounds. And then I could start to prioritize, all right, now I'm going to work on power. I'm going to work on moving better, mobility, and all these different things. So that's just kind of just some of the stuff that goes into it. And it's not too overwhelming with my training too. Once you have a plan and a routine, there's not a lot of jumping around. I'm sticking to, I don't want to say a piece of paper, but kind of just like a program of steps that I'm going to take to get to where I want to be. So that's kind of just what goes into that.
Writing down these goals and writing down what you're trying to do, how important and impactful does that make to see the difference? I think sometimes these kids, and especially, I mean, we're obviously a big connection with Wired Training. That's even how you and I connected. But some kids go in there, they do the work, but how are you getting the judgment and know that you're getting the results?
Yeah. I think you said it, like setting goals and having those things in mind is very important. That's actually something we've implemented at the high school at Norris with Coach Bartholomew in the last 2 to 3 years, setting those small goals. So we call them process goals, and then like the big goals, obviously. So you set your big goals and you have the small little process goals that go into it. So like, what are you going to do to achieve this? And it's kind of like a grapevine. Like you got to go through these tiers to get to these other ones. And just having those things in mind also is just really good for your mental health too. Obviously, a game of baseball is one of the biggest sports for mental health. Like it's such an up and down game that you have to take care of your mind and have have a positive attitude. So setting those goals and seeing those progress is really important. At the high school, I know we call it like a mountain of success. Obviously there's the dips and the rises, but you want those rises to be higher than your plateaus or your drops. So that's one of the biggest things that we look into as we go about it.
Outside of baseball, how have you taken some of these same measures to help yourself, which in turn will help your mental health all around?
Yeah, I would say just outside of baseball, what baseball's taught me is just prioritizing the little things. In baseball, it's such the small little things will add up, and it's the same thing with life. So if you're not on top of everything outside of baseball, relationships, for me, I would still be lifting outside of baseball, even if I didn't play. So that's a good example. Like if I'm not doing the little things with my lifting and my eating, staying healthy, balancing social life and all that, then obviously it would be rough sledding from there. So it's just taught me to prioritize and really pay attention to those small things so that everything's kind of in order.
Well, and I like that you brought up social life. How are you
Mhm.
conducting that, and how are you able to regulate? Because you obviously need to try to do your best to keep impactful people close
Mhm.
and understand what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, exactly. I think just trusting your family and keeping that close circle. I think one of the biggest things for me is just having those people that I can trust and talk to about anything is really important. So having that small branch of people in my life, family, coaches, teammates that I'm really close with is really important. So balancing all those people in my life is important, and they're doing the same with people like me and other people in their lives. But just having those people is really important because you need that support system to fall back on no matter what you're doing in life, whether it's baseball, sports, schoolwork, or whatever it may be. Obviously a lot of people are going through the process of even trying to find a college right now to get into for school. So there's a lot going on for seniors across the state too. So just having those people around you to help support you is really important.
Man, it's like you're almost in my mind, like thinking of my next question. I was going to go right to that part. You're talking about teammates, former friends, going through the same process of something that was a very short-lived process for yourself.
Mhm.
How can you be the positive role person to help them and make sure that they understand no matter what level you go to, it's the level that you need to go to, not what you think people think you should go to. And I say that because yes, everybody wants Division 1. Yes,
Mhm.
everybody wants to get straight to the MLB, either or, right? But when we look at across the board of MLB baseball, and a lot from local,
Mhm.
going JUCO route has worked for some. Going NAIA has worked for some to get up to D1. Some have went straight. The road and journey needs to be successful for that person. How are you able to help your friends and people go through that process?
Yeah, it's kind of, I've already kind of talked about that a little bit. It's just kind of understanding who you are, your identity. When you have a support system who is honest with you and trusts you, like they'll have those conversations with you, like, hey, this is what you need to be doing. This is where you need to be because it's going to put you in the best position. And I've been around a lot of guys. Norris sends a lot of guys to JUCOs, to Nebraska, UNOs, or whatever it may be. And we do a really good job of kind of helping those guys figure out like where they need to be, especially with me too. Like going through that process, when I decommitted, like there was still question marks of like where should I be going or where should I be looking to, like what's realistic. And the biggest thing I remember is just having those conversations with my head coach and family and teammates, like, hey, what do you guys think? Like, just having those people around is just really important because they can give you that honest feedback, and that close circle can just help lead you down that path. And obviously there's guys like Seaver King sticks out to me at Wake Forest. Like he was at a D2 last year, and now he's at Wake Forest batting cleanup or whatever, wherever he's at in the lineup. Like there's so many different paths to where you want to be. But I think we all understand that if you work hard and you stay intentional with what you're doing, obviously there's a lot of doors that's going to open. So
We most recently had Max Anderson on, Detroit Tiger,
mhm.
future Detroit. He's going that route. Some people don't understand the grind, and one thing that he always said or he brought into the conversation is always having a smile. How important do you think that is in having the fun of baseball? Because of how, like you said, it is one of the most hardest games to play mentally because only being right 1 out of 3 times is successful.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say Having a smile is just really important. You know, Max was completely right with that. I think a lot of people lose sight of having fun with the game. Like at the end of the day, it's still a game. When pressure's there, you know, some people lose sight of that, and that's something I never want to lose in my identity. I think the biggest thing that helps me is just reminding myself of how happy, you know, this game made me as a kid, and how happy it makes me now. The places it has taken me, the people I've met, the friendships I have because of the game. Like it's safe to say, like, you know, my life would be completely different if I didn't have baseball in it, and I'm forever thankful for that. And that's one of the things that keeps me happy with baseball, because I'm sure, like, in the next steps, after finishing my senior season, you know, there's going to be some more people I meet that I'm going to stay close with the rest of my life, and maybe work with and be around in the game forever. So it's going to be really cool.
Handling pressure has changed since the first day you committed to FSU to where you are today. What's been your biggest thing to help with that adjustment of the pressure of social media, the pressure of having to perform, and the profession or the having to show up and show out at these Super 60s and stuff? How has that all changed for you?
Um, I would say just learning to trust myself more than anything. Trust what I've put into it. Trust my training. I know I've already talked about, you know, having a support system, so I won't go into that too much. But I would say the biggest thing I've picked up on is just kind of having like mental sayings for myself when I'm going through these things, having things to lean back on, things I can remind myself of. I think the biggest thing for me that I tell myself is, like, you know, I'm here for a reason. There's a reason why I'm in front of these people. There's a reason why I've had success. I've had failures. There's a reason why they still see something in me, even in those failures. And there's a reason why I ride those successes. But I would say just reminding myself of that and trusting myself has been the biggest thing I've picked up on. And also just, you know, when I'm playing in these games this spring, just going out there and not worrying, just kind of just letting it fall into place, because what'll happen will happen. You know, you just kind of, you know, the sun will come up the next day. We like to say at the high school, you know, after a loss or whatever it may be, or after a rough day for a guy on the mound or something. So just reminding yourself that you did all this work to be in this position, and just keep going. So.
Your dad's played a big role in being coach to father, and obviously the father realm has been able to come out a lot more these past couple years. What has that meant to your success in your high school career, and being able to really live in those moments and understand that your parents get to be parents now and not always having to be in the ear?
Yeah, I would say with my parents, you know, my dad's still there, you know, every step of the way with me. We were actually out there hitting yesterday. We're gonna go hit today. So he still has those aspects of things. I think he wants to try and do that as much as possible before I leave. Obviously, he's got the two younger ones that he can still work with, so he's looking forward to that. But we get a best of both worlds, because, you know, obviously my mom's not involved with coaching in the game. She's just kind of, you know, that support person I can come to home to every single day. You know, have those conversations with about baseball or life, whatever it may be. And that's really special to me to have her there. And also just with my dad, seeing him watch, or with my dad and mom actually just watch us, me and Bryce, play on the same field as a senior and sophomore now this year, is just really special to them. Having those moments that they're going to cherish the rest of their life, and me and Bryce will too, is really important. So it's been cool. You know, you look out in the stands sometimes and watch them watch us as Bryce is pitching, and I'm at third or short, whatever it may be. You can kind of see, you know, that they're proud of us and they're excited for us and the steps that we're taking. So it's really cool.
So, of course, 2024 year is here. Norris Titans baseball. What should we expect, and what's this year looking for you guys?
Yeah, I would say off season wise, this is one of the best teams we've had, one of the most fun teams I've had. I think being a senior now, I'm just laughing thinking about it. Like all my teammates that I've been around and developed relationships with. I think we have a really good understanding, you know, that this is it. Like this is our last chance to do something special for the Norris community, for our school, and for ourselves especially. So I'm just really close with these guys. We're going to need some underclassmen to step up, some guys that have better years, so to show that they made strides in the off season. But we're so good with being organized in the off season, and that's kudos to our coaching staff and Coach Bart especially. That we don't really worry about certain aspects of the game once we get to practice and scrimmages, because we've already put in all that work. Now it's just like, let's go play, let's have fun, let's identify some things we can get better at for sure. Let's identify what we're good at. Let's throw a lineup out there that we feel confident with, and let's roll with it. Like let's just have fun, leave it all out there because we've got nothing to lose. And I think if you come watch us play, you're just going to see a team that likes to have fun, loves to talk with each other, maybe even to the other team a little bit if we're out ahead. So I think that's just kind of what we're about and what we're looking forward to is winning a lot of ball games this spring. So
When you look at your season, is there a game and a date that you've already circled to make up for something that you might have missed last year?
Obviously the state championship is definitely what we circle every year, and it's what we work towards. Obviously it's cliche, but we want to win that and we want to be in that position. That's kind of where we expect to be. I think everyone kind of knows that too with Norris, with being in the state tournament 12 years in a row. Since my freshman year, my class has been in the state championship 2 years out of the 3 years. So it's kind of where we expect to be. So we kind of, have that date in mind. But we're big believers in just kind of that day-by-day process. Like right now, we're just focused on game 1 against Hastings. And then the next day, like I don't even know who we play. That's just like the next day we just we show up and we understand what our job is and what we're supposed to do. And we just keep carrying on with it. So that's kind of what I like about this team and our motto with the coaching staff and the program as a whole. We don't really get caught up in that big picture. It's just kind of that small goals that I talked about. So
Everybody has that piece. What is Kale's piece of equipment that is a must-have, and if you didn't have it, you'd be out of the norm for you?
That's actually a really good question. I never got asked before, but I would say I carry around a little plastic cardinal in my bag that reminds me, I think we talked about in the last podcast, losing when I lost my brother in a car accident. It kind of reminds me, that a cardinal is a sign of remembrance that he's still with you. So that's kind of something that I carry around with me. That's really important with me in my bag all the time. And it reminds me of who I'm playing for and what I'm playing for, and it keeps me going. So,
all right. We always talk about the dugout. I hear has the oddest candies, drinks, whatever. What's your go-to candy and drink or go-to thing for the dugout that maybe someone just doesn't know?
Sour Skittles would be the candy. I don't know what it is about it. I just, I never really liked sour candy, but I actually picked up on the Sour Skittles this summer. My summer teammates kind of got me on that. So I got the Sour Skittles in there typically. Can't go wrong with seeds. I can't even count how many seeds I've had since the beginning of the year.
Okay, you gotta tell me what type of seeds, because I could tell you, like I ended up finding spits, and I could go through a bag of spits, and my mouth don't feel chapped up because it's not salted all to the wall.
Yeah.
But people don't understand. I somehow found the salted caramel, and that was like my fave. Now I can't find it, but what flavor seed?
I'm a big dill pickle guy with the bigs. I like those a lot, but
That's my son too, man. I can't do. I love pickles, man. I love fried pickles. I love all that, but I can't do dill pickled seeds.
Yeah, I don't know. I like them, but there's a new company that my teammates have been getting a lot. I can't remember the name of it now, but they love these barbecue ones that they have there. I think they're kind of like harder, firmer seeds. They hold their taste a little bit more. That's why they like them. But I've had a few of those, and those are pretty good. But I just stick with the dill pickle. We're not really. I don't think as a team we're really big gum guys either. Like we don't chew a lot of gum. It's usually just seeds and we get a lot of energy drink guys too, though, and our coach doesn't like that. But he says if we need an energy drink to get up for a game, then that's a problem. But we still got guys who like to get that extra little adrenaline boost. So
I think it comes to the point, and especially as time grows, it's only a mental thing. Like I only have it because I drink so much water. I want something different. I don't really need it for the caffeine because I have myself caffeine. When you look at your drink, what's your drink go-to to get you back into feeling better? If you're down and needing a refreshment.
We have these, I think it's like I don't remember what the packets are, but I've had this same Kool-Aid in my house. Like, it's always in our fridge since, like, my dad loves this, like, brand of packets of Kool-Aid that you mix with the water, obviously, that's in our house no matter what. So I just remember growing up on that and having that all the time. So that's something that I usually have right after a game typically. So
Nice glass of Kool-Aid.
yeah.
You win the championship. What's the first meal you think you're going to go for?
I don't know. I feel like we'd go to, I had a teammate last year, Cody Behrens, and his parents own a sports bar in Beatrice. We would probably go down there and have our own booth and room with all the teammates. So I think they have some good seafood there. I'd probably have some seafood stuff there. So
You just said seafood. You're heading down to Louisiana.
yeah.
Home of some seafood. What was your best meal so far down there?
I had this Cajun shrimp bowl. That was really, really good. It had a little extra kick that I'm still trying to get used to, but I'm starting to see, the shrimp and the food, the seafood especially, is a little different down there. So I'm getting used to it. It wasn't too much of a kick, but I got there, so it was good.
Yeah, kicks are my thing. I use a thing called Slap Your Mama, and that
Mhm.
adds a little, and they got like 4 different levels of spice. But
Yeah.
we're gonna end out on this, and I greatly appreciate your time. We got 2 things. One, we're gonna go with our Wired In segment here in one moment, where we got 3 fan questions. But what's LSU baseball getting, and what are you hoping to achieve when you get on campus?
I'd say the biggest thing is just someone who wants to win. I've been around a winning program in high school, in youth ball, playing with the Omaha Tigers. I understand the importance of winning and how to win. Playing varsity since freshman year has taught me a lot about handling pressure, kind of like what we talked about. So I think when I get down there, just getting on the field in any way possible and just trying to compete day in and day out is something that I want to give to LSU. And hopefully it shows for my teammates so that they can trust me. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
And I guess I would do a disservice if I didn't ask this. You've been through some of the process, and we've had Connor Capisci who played for on the MLB Draft League. What has that part of your process been this past couple year when it started to talk of the MLB draft?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously that's there through the process, having the opportunities like that, conversations with people, going out at the Super 60, performing well. So obviously that's going to be there throughout the spring. I think me and Tyson are in very similar situations. So it's really cool to have those guys going through the same process. But I think if there's one thing I understand really well is that there's no bad path. Whatever road it is what it is. Just whatever path baseball takes you down, you just roll with it and perform at the next level wherever it may be. So just having that in the back of my mind, not worrying about it throughout the spring, staying true to myself, and just trying to win for my teammates will help me stay successful. So.
Oh, man, that's some good words there. Well, I'm going to invite our producer today, Cam. Cam's going to ask the 3 questions. We'll let you answer. Cam, go ahead. What do you got for the first one?
For sure, yeah. We got one from Facebook. Question is, peer reactions can have both positive and negative effects. It's a 2-part question. What has been the biggest difference between committing to a college at 14 years old and becoming an MLB prospect? And the second part of that is, what have been the best and worst experiences, and how have you dealt with them?
All right, repeat that first one again.
Yeah. What's the biggest difference between committing to a college at 14 and becoming an MLB prospect?
Okay. Yeah. I would say, committing at 14 was just kind of different because it was, I don't want to say frowned upon. It was just kind of like a different feeling amongst other people when you committing that young. Like, they had mixed opinions on it. Like, is this guy even that good, or is he going to go perform and stuff like that? So there was still some question marks raised with me committing at 14. I'd say it was just different because I was so young, obviously, and going through that process. I was obviously a little bit more giddy, more excited, wanted to get to FSU quicker. But I think now that I'm committed to LSU, have the prospect status, I'd say I'm starting to learn more about, kind of what I talked about, like enjoying the little things around what I have going on here and just kind of focusing on the now rather than the whole big picture. So that's the biggest thing I've learned, and that's the biggest difference between now and then. is I'm balancing the small things and picking up on those little things a lot better. That's ultimately going to set me up better for the future. So.
For sure. And then the second part of that one was, what has been the best and worst experiences and how have you dealt with them?
From the peers.
From the peers.
From the peers. Like in terms of baseball or just anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, because obviously you're making big decisions where some feel like you might be up on a plateau up here and we're just down here. And then others put you up on that plateau in a good way. You know, not some take it as a good thing. Some take it as there's always haters, right? And it's not a good thing, but of course, being in your shoes, I think it's important that with what maybe this person was looking for was the reactions that the best reaction that you've gotten from your local peers. And one of the things that maybe might have hit a little home, no names, no nothing, but obviously your feelings matter.
Yeah, I would say, the coolest thing, one of the best reactions is just kind of like seeing how, I guess, the people in the NBA youth, like, the kids in the youth ball, how they react to watching us play. I remember signing autographs at state last year, 2 years ago, and the year before. Being around those guys, I'm actually I go over to the elementary school once a week and I hang out with, we call them a Norris neighbor. So you get to kind of connect with the elementary students in that way. And when I go over there, just, seeing them run up to me, say my name and whatnot, and having that relationship is really cool. So I would say, obviously that they're not like peers because I'm not around them every day, but having that is really cool. But also just, the support of my teammates and coaches especially is really cool. They understand what I'm going through, the ups and downs of it. So, Norris has been really good, especially my baseball teammates with helping me through that process and keeping me positive throughout the highs and lows. But also, there's been times where there's been, people, like you said, there's been people who are jealous within the program too at times. So just kind of having to balance that. I'd say in 22, that was kind of the overarching theme of why we had an up and down, because we were kind of like a cliquey group. Because of that, there was a lot of jealousy going around. So I would say that's one of the negatives that comes with it. But for me, it just helped me learn more about how to be closer with my teammates and how to build that culture, which is really important. So
good. What you got next?
Nice. Question number 2. This one's from a friend of the show named DT. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier on the episode, but why not take the opportunity to play here in Nebraska and show what can be achieved among your friends and family? In this day and age, if you work hard, perform well, you'll be noticed no matter where you go. So why take your talent elsewhere?
Yeah, I would say it was just, an opportunity to play baseball to somewhere I've looked up to the rest of my life, or my youth ball, seeing them play at the College World Series. LSU was kind of just like the dream school, just kind of watching them play, seeing them play. It was just kind of, it was a different feeling, and having that opportunity. I just kind of thought to myself, when I'm done playing baseball, am I going to regret not taking this scholarship to LSU, So I just kind of thought about it that way. And then, kind of all the different things that I talked about that went into it. Obviously LSU is the right fit for me, and I think I'm going to develop best there. And I think that's what's really important for me. Another thing that sticks out is why LSU is, I think it's the best place for me to get ready for the next level if I do go to LSU, because you're playing in front of 10,000 fans all the time at the box. That's a real MLB minor league atmosphere, So being around that is really important too, because it helps you get ready for the next level, and that's where ultimately I want to be. So that's where I think I'm going to develop best and have the best experiences for the next level.
Perfect.
Nice. And question number 3. This one's from Instagram. Being a Major League Baseball prospect is an awesome accomplishment at such a young age. If you could switch to any other major sport, what sport would you choose, and what position would you play?
I would probably choose football because that's what my dad's second sport was. And being a bigger body, I still move really, really well for being big. I think I could see myself being a quarterback. I have huge hands, can get it around the football, can maneuver it. I think I would be a really good quarterback. So I think football would be the one thing I would take up and be pretty good at.
Once again, I appreciate my producer Cam filling in for Wired In segment. I appreciate the second interview for us with Kale Fountain. Kale, you got a lot of things going positive. We're just sitting here watching and enjoying the show. Continue the process. Continue being an example, not just for yourself, your family, but also Norris Titans. I watched them this past 2 weekends ago lose at state for basketball, but we know what's coming for baseball. I hope Class B is ready because those Norris Titans are coming. Once again, DJ K-Dub Omaha, Wired Access Podcast, a Hurrdat production, and Norris Titan Kale Fountain. Thank you again. We'll see you next time.